week on the Seller Community Podcast from List Perfectly and Listing Party, we welcome the Reseller Information Network, Eric, Obxpicker, Tim from Over the Years, Leroy from Blood, Sweat, and Sell, and Chris from Cernoch Connection. The Reseller Information Network offer advice, how to sell, how to resell using different online platforms such as eBay, Mercari. They even talk about Amazon, which a lot of people in our industry don't. They do. Poshmark, Grail, Depop, Facebook, Marketplace, whatnot, and much more. They also talk about sourcing, listing, shipping, navigating the different platforms, as well as many other topics. And I got to be honest, they're really amusing, guys, in person and online. They're very funny. And the way they interact is a hoot. Sometimes one of them will go off on a tangent and the rest of them all bring them back in. Doug tells me this is the first episode with 6 people all at once. Is that true?
This is very true. 6 people talking over each other all at once. It was fun talking to those guys.
They're fun and they're funny and they're very smart. And I've actually learned quite a bit from them. At FlipCon, we really got into a discussion about AI photographs and using AI for different reasons. It was really interesting. They were a little bit ahead of the curve, so it was great. We also have seller shoutouts, a Trish Tip, and the seller news. Welcome to the Seller Community Podcast by List Perfectly. Today we welcome Chris, Eric, Tim, and Leroy, also known as the Reseller Information Network. Will you guys go around and just each introduce yourself and what you bring to the network? Chris, you want to go first?
I'll go first. My name is Chris. I'm Cernoch Connection. I've been reselling full time for about 5.5 years. My eBay store goes all the way till back to 2001 because I've been always reselling here and there. But I got full time started 5.5 years ago. I mainly do clothing, shoes, hats, a lot of menswear type stuff, vintage. I'm really big into vintage. But I dabble into everything. And as we learn from each other, picking up tools and glass and this and that, it's a wide bag of stuff that I'm involved with. And I probably have the best thrift shop in America. So I'm spoiled rotten, just to let y'all know from the get-go.
Yes.
He can tell you, but he'd have to kill you. Nah, it's not that big a secret. If you watch on Tuesdays, you'll learn real quick.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm Eric, the Obxpicker. Honestly, only been reselling about 4.5 years. And in large part to the guys on this panel, I've grown a ton as a reseller and obviously other people within the community of resellers. But yeah, I pick a little bit of everything. And there's not a whole lot that I'll walk away from, to be honest. Like, I'm going to expand my horizons every day. I just had a recent pickup of a bunch of Dollywood stuff. That's something new for me.
My name is Tim from Over the Years. I am probably the wild card of the bunch, I would say. Maybe, probably, most likely. I could talk a lot. I'm going to be very brief. I sell on every single platform. I'm on eBay, Etsy, Mercari, Poshmark, Depop, Grail, whatnot. So I'm all over the place. I actually specialize in vintage and antique glass, porcelain, and ceramic. But I also specialize in sports stuff and vintage clothing, hats. But like everybody else pretty much on this panel, like I will pick and I will sell anything. Picking is what I love to do. I am full-time. This is what I do for a living. I can't explain to people, like I try to sometimes, but it's a little bit difficult to explain in words how much these guys mean to me, and what we have done together has been absolutely amazing. A lot of people make podcasts and make shows and they last some time and this and that, but we're like lifers. And we are all about helping the community and helping others. That's one of the biggest things for us. So to be able to do that with these guys, and like when we get together, it is crazy. Like you could literally like drop us in the middle of anywhere and we will find a way to source. I'm very grateful to have these guys as brothers. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here and super excited for the future of the Reseller Information Network.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Leroy from Blood, Sweat, and Sell. I'm probably the rookie of the crew. I feel like I haven't been doing this long enough. I live in the South now. I got a New England accent. I specialize in tools. I love tools.
Did you say you have a New England accent?
Yeah, wait till you hear her talk, Leroy. As soon as I heard you like go off for the first time, Trish, I immediately reached over for my phone and told Leroy and the guy, I said, wait till you hear this, Leroy. Like Leroy and Trish, they're gonna get together. Y'all thought y'all couldn't understand what I said. You're gonna put these two together. Ain't nobody gonna understand this. Anything that comes out of this podcast.
Trish, I did 45 years in Providence.
Oh, I heard it right there in Providence.
Yeah.
She's been 45 years in Providence.
Yeah.
When we get down south to pick, I have to translate for Leroy. Like when we go south, people are just looking at me like, "What? What do you? What do you say?"
I really appreciate you guys letting us come on. As you guys see, just this little introduction, we're all a lot of fun. Please check us out on Tuesdays. I'm ready to be here and answer whatever you guys need.
We'll share the links and all that so people will be able to find you for sure. But for those that don't know, what is the Reseller Information Network?
There's a couple questions in regard to this. I'll handle both of those and one together because it explained what we got going on. Probably a little over 3 years ago, I actually saw this guy, Ken Skeets. I always give him credit. Ken Skeets. He's from Australia. He sells nothing but media, or he did back then. And he did a 17-hour listing challenge. And him and a buddy has sat and listed for 17 hours. And I was checking in throughout the day, and I was like, dude, this guy just listed thousands of DVDs over a period of time. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Here I am sitting around, I'm listing 10, 15, 20 a day. Like I'm doing something, right? This guy just listed thousands. And so I got fired up about it. I was getting close to my 1,000 subs on Obxpicker. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to list. I'm going to do a listing challenge. So I put it out to the community and I was like, hey, I'm going to do an 8-hour listing challenge. And I was like, I'm just going to go and do it. And so I dropped the link all day long and all of these guys showed up. Like they came in, they popped in throughout the day. Now, I'll tell you this, before this, I used to do an interview show similar to this with resellers. Another guy named Dapper Tiger is no longer a reseller, but no reflection on me. That was his own choice. But anyway, we were doing a reseller show. Tim was our very first guest. I knew Leroy and Cernoch just from either chats, or Cernoch did the hazmats and snapbacks with Tim, a big video about it. So like we all knew each other through the community. These guys popped in, and Tim actually sent me a message. He said, hey man, this was super inspirational. I got so much work done. Could we do this every week? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. We could do this every week if you guys want to come around. So I used to just drop the link and let pretty much anybody that wanted to come in. That's a mistake. Do not drop the link and let anybody and everybody come in your channel, because it does create some hassle for you later on. But what resulted of it is then I sent out an invite to these guys and I said, hey, I would love you guys to be a part of this because y'all have come here every week and been supportive. And we became that. And so we did what was called Listing and Loafing for now over 3 years. Shout out Kent Daigle is who actually coined that phrase for us. We were already doing Reseller Information Network. We were just doing it live and just going along. And Kevin Commonwealth Picker reached out to me and he's like, man, you guys should put this thing as a show. You should make this a show. Just the four of you guys, you're already giving out nuggets every Tuesday, just handing them out to anybody that comes by, any information that we can help. And we all have that mindset. We want to be a community of resellers. There's always drama, no matter what you have going on in the world. We don't want to be that drama zone. We want to be someone who encourages the newbies that are just coming in, helps them, show them the way, but also tell them, look, there's a ton of ways to do this thing. We can show you some ways that'll help you be successful, but it's not cookie cutter. We all live in different parts of the country. We all have different situations in our home, and we all have different circumstances according to like how much we can buy, what our budget is, those kind of things. Right. So all those things are different for everybody. So why not us just try to help people with as much information as we can, but not say this is the only way to do it, because the four of us do things entirely different. There's some things that we all do the same, but there's a lot of stuff that we do completely different.
Tell me
All
about
right.
your YouTube journey for the four of you. How is that going? How is that right now? How does that work?
I think it's amazing. There are things that we're accomplishing that I'm not saying I doubted us, but I never thought that would come this fast.
Yeah.
So it's super exciting for me. I'm shocked every day. These guys message me and hey, this is going on, that's going on. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't realize it was going to be like this. So I'm super excited, and that's
Good. I'm glad it's going well. That's great.
It's super rewarding. Just like, even if it's one or two comments or somebody messages us and they're like, you guys helped me do this. You guys, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for you guys. I'm using AI background now in Photo Room because of you guys. I'm picking up hats because Cernoch showed me the best way to source and to clean and to prep and to list hats. I literally picked up tools today because of Leroy. I'm shipping glass because of Tim. I'm doing all these things. And Eric is showing 50-pound brass figurines like one day. And then the next day it's a vitamin like mixer that I'm posting on our Instagram page that he sold. I think that's the most rewarding part. It doesn't matter if we have 1 million views or we make $5. Like, the most rewarding part of what we do as a collective is obviously just the pure fact that we are actually helping other people and not pushing our own agendas, but
Right.
just literally just showing people, because Eric said, we literally, I'd say 50% of the things that all of us do, we do differently. And then there's 50% of the stuff that we all agree is like a good method. But that doesn't mean that we put our nose up to other people's methods. That we listen to everything that we possibly can and try and pick pieces of it and put it together and find the best way. And it's always changing. One of the biggest things we talk about is adjusting and adapting.
For us, like when you get into the reselling portion of it, one of the things we talk about all the time, for me, I always say learners are earners. Like, the more you learn, the better off you are. It helps you in a lot of ways. When you got sourcing more about what you're looking for, I do always warn people about listing just for a number, because like we do it a little different. Like, most of us list by dollar or number or a combination thereof, because we all know what happens. If I know I got to get to 20, I'm going to pick the 20th easiest items I can find to get to 20. That's what I want to do. And they may not be good items, especially when you're first starting. We do encourage people to look at sell-through and try to, that's one of the things you need to learn early, is look for sell-through, because you can put up 2,000 items, but if they're garbage, then you spent 2,000 items worth of wasted time. It requires work. If it's going to be a business for you, then you got to hit the clock, even though you don't have a clock. You got to still do the work.
We all have our own individual YouTube channels as well. I will say that I took a step back. Like, I got in YouTube a long time ago, and I took a step back for about 9 months for making content. And a lot of that, I recently came back. It's probably been about 3 weeks now, maybe. And I dropped a video, the first video I put out when I came back, basically explaining what had happened to me and what I was going through and the burnout and all my own struggles in day-to-day life. And so I put that video out, and then I was like, I'm going to do this time. I'm really dedicated. I'm going to come back and I'm going to give this a second go. I'm not really like the type to give up. I've been putting out 3 videos a week now for the last 3 weeks. So I'm sticking to it. And it's the same sort of concept. I try to make everything full circle. So it's, if you guys like this sort of stuff, you can find us on Reseller Information Network. And then I'm really just trying to build my business, my brand back up. And so it's a grind, but as long as I'm having fun and it's not affecting my income, then I'm going to keep attacking it.
Give us a high level view of the type of content you guys put out.
I will say, like me, because y'all were asking about YouTube channels earlier, like separate ones.
Yeah.
I had one. I just hated doing videos, so I stopped.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm one of those. I always say, like, I'm the guy, like your favorite band that doesn't tour anymore. That if they go on tour, you're gonna want to go. So if I ever do a video, you're going to want to check in, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm actually putting the effort into doing it. you're gonna need to check in. I'm not one of the guys that are like, oh, I'm gonna do one every day. Like, I got so much stuff going on. I'm probably the laziest one out of all the other guys. So I like naps. Okay, I like naps. I literally took like a 3-hour nap today for no reason, but I'll work late tonight. But with our whole, like, what we do, again, like going back to Eric, Leroy, and Tim, we're all different. And I think we all get to show our lifestyle design that reselling provides to us. A lot of people don't realize this. As a full-time reseller, you're not in the 9-to-5 grind. You're not doing all the stuff. So it's how you design your lifestyle, how much you're going to list. Eric said, I'm a big proponent of listing dollar-wise, because again, I can pick up 20 items and be like, oh, here, I'll list 20 CDs done. Okay, no, I don't want to do that. But if I list 5 items that are $150 to $200 a piece, I'm good with listing. That's what I did last night. I listed 5 items, and out of those 5 items, it totaled like almost like $1,000. So it's like, hey, I just put up $1,000 on the eBay. So I'm good with that personally. I can go to bed going, all right, I did my duty for today.
It's interesting because I think sometimes it just takes a second to just see it sometimes. And I think that's what we're providing for people too. It's not like scripted. Like, we do a pre-recorded show we put out every Friday on the Reseller Information Network. Right? But like a lot of that it's not like we have like pre-production meeting or anything like that. Like, we literally like we hop on backstage. Like, we go live Tuesday. As soon as that live ends, Leroy, we got to make sure Leroy gets a snack, some lunch. He has to make a gourmet meal. And then we go and we start recording. And it's just, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today. And it's just like, it's no like bullet points. It's just very raw and organic. And I think people really appreciate that. And that's something that we're happy to provide for the community. And I think a lot of people are just, they want to see the real side of reselling. And I think that's what we've been working so hard on as a group of guys. And it's been fantastic to be able to do that. And it's a journey.
Nice. All right, so let's go around and each of you give us, let's say, your top piece of selling advice. Let's start with Leroy. What's your top piece of selling advice?
Don't walk by tools. Don't walk by tools.
Mine would be buy low, sell high. You know what I'm saying? Like, negotiate and because I see all these people going out and they're going to Goodwill and paying $15 for a shirt. And so I think me and Eric are like some of the cheapest cheapskates. Like, we want to get that like down to 0, you know?
For me, the best piece of selling advice is take the time. Take the time, because I feel like so many people want to rush through the process that you're leaving money on the table. And that can be applied to every aspect of reselling, whether it's sourcing, whether it's listing, prepping, shipping, all of that stuff, promoting yourself. I think that if you take your time sourcing, don't give up. Like, we have a thing on Reseller Information Network, every nook and cranny. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, lift up those boxes, lift up those items, flip them over. You know what I'm saying? Take the time, pull out your phone, comp something. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people think that it's like cool to buy things without comping. Nah, I'm good. I don't want to do that. Can I? For certain things? Absolutely, yes. But let me tell you, there's a lot of times where you will get yourself in trouble, because what you'll do is you'll be like, oh yeah, this is definitely worth something. And it's only $5. And then you get home and then you want to go to list it and it's comping out at like $20, $25. By the time the fees and all the time and everything, like, that's what the profit margin is not that's not what I do. You know what I'm saying? So that's as far as sourcing. As far as prepping your items, like, nobody wants to buy a dirty dish. You know what I'm saying? Take the time, clean your item, prep your photos, use photo room. You know what I'm saying? Listen, everybody's got white backgrounds. I'm going to be pushing the AI backgrounds because that's our job. As Reseller Information Network, to help other people, everybody's doing white photos. Don't do what everybody's doing just because everybody else is doing it and they told you that it's okay. It's okay to be different, all right? Take your time to ship, because you keep rushing those shipments and then you want to know why people are saying, oh, I got the wrong item, or my item's broken, because you didn't take the time to do it the right way. So, and then you're like, oh, nobody's watching my YouTube. Nobody's coming to my whatnot. Nobody's shopping. eBay's so slow. It's the summer slowdown. The algorithm, things are messed up. No, take the time to put in the work and promote all of those things. You don't have to be a superstar to promote things. Leroy would tell your family members to buy eBay gift cards. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's the thing. Take your time.
See, like, I can piggyback off of what Tim and all these guys say. For me, my number one tool as a reseller, honestly, is negotiation. And these guys know, they've seen it firsthand. Like, I don't claim to be an expert at anything as far as a particular category, but I will get you a deal. That's just what happens. But the one thing that, as far as the number one for me, is be organized from the beginning. If you're brand new, the biggest piece of advice I would give you, and I will tell you the reason I'm giving you this advice is because I did not do that. I jumped in with both feet, and I have a mess that I'm trying to straighten out now. And it's a lot easier to do it from the jump than it is when you're 2,000 listings in. Like, it's a lot easier to start right out. Like, I know for me, I was like, I've got a good memory. I can just put stuff wherever, and you start losing items. Like, you're looking at stuff that you're like, what? Like, or you have things sitting in piles that you're like, oh, this is $200. It's been hanging out under this bench over here on the side. That's the kind of stuff. So one piece of advice to people would be, just get organized from the beginning. Create some kind of storage system. It doesn't have to be like Ginger Marvin, perfect in every way, but you can just put it out there and put it in a bin or put it on something to where, hey, I've got all of my shoes in this row right here, and I can look at them all and see whatever it looks like for you, but just in a way where you know where it's at, and to where if something, Lord forbid, something happened to you where you can't pull orders. Like right now, if something happened to me and I couldn't talk, I would be in a mess. Like,
Can you imagine if I couldn't talk, though?
Give us a piece of advice for content creating. There are a lot of people who think they want to do this. There are a lot of people who think they want to either have a YouTube show or a podcast or make content. Give us an example. Give us a little piece of advice, or, how it's not always so great.
I would say learn to edit. Honestly, that's the thing that sucks the most time. And like it is something that people don't realize, the amount of time. I hear people all the time. We have friends that are pretty big content creators. Like, I've interviewed people with 500,000 followers. I've talked to people with 600,000 followers. Kevin is a good friend of all of us, and we know what he goes through with it. ADH Dave, like all these guys that we've interviewed, had interaction with. People have no clue the amount of time. I've spent a lot of time with Kevin. I tell you, he is working late into the night. I've stayed at places with him. He's working late into the night to create content, and you just gotta love it. If you don't love it, it's not easy as what it looks on TV. Like, it's like the nailed it version, right? Yeah. I think I was the nailed it version myself. It's like, oh, I can do that. These guys do it easy. And then you're like, oh yeah, what I just did don't look nothing like what they did.
Right.
For me, and listen, it's just like reselling. Content creation is just like reselling. You have to be consistent.
Yep.
You have to be consistent. You have to be able to do it all the time. You have to have a good schedule. If you're doing a listing, I make this sort of comparison. If you're doing a listing, you need a good title. You need a good first picture. You need a good description, right? Same thing with a YouTube video. Got to have a good thumbnail. Got to have a good title. Got to have the right description. And for me, like, anybody can make content. Listen, there's a million different ways you can make content. But for me personally, there's two things that you have to be able to do if you want to be successful at content creation outside of the consistency, is you have to be able to provide some sort of value and some sort of entertainment. Without that, then you're just another dude with a camera on the internet.
I think also being genuine to your audience, being genuine, showing the wins, but also showing the losses too. And everyone has their different flavor because, but I think over time in the long haul to be successful, you need to be genuine to your audience, because if you're not, a lot of people can just see right through that. So that's my advice, and that's what I always say. I always like to be genuine. So it's like it's showing the bad and the good at the same time. So I think that's very important, because people want to be genuine, because again, people have their faults. If they don't see someone that has a little bit of fault in them, it's like everything's all rainbows and cupcakes every day.
We mesh together, and we also know how to slow the other person down or change the subject. When you have four guys, sometimes guys don't want to be together because they want to be the powerhouse, or sometimes all women don't want to be together because they want to be controlling. There's no controlling factor in this group at all. Eric is the boss, but he knows where to put us. He knows, okay, I got to put Eric, Tim at the end, or Tim knows I can go first, or I feel like we mesh well. To answer my part of the YouTube thing, I'm not too big on YouTube. I have a channel. I do have 1,000 subscribers. I got like 18 watch hours with 1,000 subscribers, doing great. So I got a lot of subscribers, but the content creation is not for me. But I'm trying. Tim got me going. I'm trying.
Good.
Yeah, this
I
is
love
great.
it. I love the idea of having real conversations about reselling. And it's not amusing. No one's going to listen. So I think you guys are great.
This has been great, guys. I love the rapport that you have, and I love that you guys are so humble.
Listen, Cernoch's not buying computers.
I don't have his
So
music drop.
we record our show, right? At the end of the show, Cernoch will randomly play a song from, I have no idea what type of instrumental he's going to play. And then I have to give the outro based on my energy off of the type of music that Cernoch has selected. So it might be like very smooth, or it might be like, so like it's different every time. So that's why. See? We want to thank everybody for joining us today on List Perfectly, the Reseller Information Network, guys. So like it all goes like that. It's a lot of fun.
Good.
So yes.
That was good. We are the Seller Community Podcast, having on the Reseller Network podcast.
Information Network.
We don't put podcast on it because we're not a podcast. We're just a group of guys trying to save the world, one reseller at a time.
One reseller at a time. Well, we appreciate it.
All right, cool. We'll end on that. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. All right, now we've got seller shoutouts. I'm going to start with mine, Trish.
Okay, Doug.
My friends, or our friends on the Seller Club podcast, did a listing party recently. Anna Packer, Ken the Hustlebee, Glenn Hustler Hacks, and they talked about different ways to invest in your business other than buying inventory and things like that. Talking about promoted listings and more.
Yeah.
And they're going to be on again. They're going to do more listing parties. This was just their first. And right now, Trish and ladies and gentlemen, they are doing a giveaway with List Perfectly, and they're giving away a new Apple iPhone 15. So
Wait. Can I enter?
You're ineligible to enter.
Too bad.
My kids have better iPhones than my wife and I do, but I can't enter either. But simply go to @Seller Club Podcast on Instagram to learn how to enter. And again, their podcast is new but great. It's growing. Anna Packer, Ken the Hustlebee, Glenn Hustler Hacks, great resources. Check it out, the Seller Club Podcast. Trish.
And if you're not a List Perfectly subscriber, just so you know, Listing Party is something that you get when you subscribe to List Perfectly. And that's where they're doing that extra show. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood what Listing Party was if they weren't involved. So I just want to give a shout out to, I've been thinking about niches and niching down. Do you say niche or niche? Which one do you say?
I say niche.
I say niche also. I say I belong in a niche, but then when I said, then I say niching down. So who the hell knows?
Hey, I changed my mind. I say niche.
Okay. But I wanted to bring up Chris and Julie Brown. They're from Ohio. They are both resellers. Chris is in auto parts. And what I like about them is this is something I'd like to throw out there. If you're a reseller, think about what you really like in your own life, right? They really are involved in the tiki community, tiki mugs, tiki swizzles, tiki matches, anything that's tiki. I don't even really understand. Yeah, exactly.
Tiki Man.
Exactly. I don't even
Come
understand what
to
all the tiki things are.
I'm singing, Trish, don't interrupt me. In the jungle I found a tiki man. You could understand my elation when the natives, they all shook my hand. The head of the village said destroy it. But I'm no fool, I took it anyway. Now to this day I'm cursed forever. This is
Aw.
that evil tiki man.
I've never heard that song.
It's by a band called Deadbolt.
Okay, that is very interesting. Thank you for that serenade. I do appreciate it. They are very passionate about tiki. So when I was on a little vacation last week, I took my mother to Austin, Texas, and there was a very big tiki bar there. So I went and I came home with 3 mugs that Julie asked me to get.
Okay.
When you have this community, you can say, "Hey, you're going near whatever. Could you pick that up for me? I'll Venmo you the money," or things like that. So just try to think a little bit outside of your niche right now. I'm a used clothing seller, but I'm not going to ask my friends to sell me used clothes to go get them for me. But I love bags and I love a good pocketbook. Maybe I would ask if they were going to Disney, somebody to pick me up like in a Disney exclusive or something like that. So I just want resellers to also be aware of what you really like because knowledge is power and you'll be able to know things that other people who are not in that niche know. I wanted to shout them out for that. I also
Excellent.
wanted to shout out Ed Flores, Ed the reselling rider. He had his biggest sale ever, like a bundle, over
Nice.
600 bucks. And he's mostly a used shoe seller and 600 bucks in used shoes. Good for you, Ed, really. And the last thing I wanted to shout out was most of you probably know my friend Diane Lassonde, and she got some bad news this week and is having to start chemotherapy and radiation again. And so anybody that knows her, please maybe just reach out to her through social media. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you.
Diane does listen to the show. So we
She
love you, Diane. We're always thinking about you, sending thoughts and prayers. She's amazing. I've been friends with Diane and Trish a long time. And again, we love her. We're thinking about her. And if you want to help, if you want to help out, she's got the
Oh
Fearless
yeah,
Living
Fearless
Fund
Living Fund. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
donate to. And it's her birthday month.
It
So
is her birthday on the 9th. I saw her yesterday. She could probably use a little extra love.
and we'll put the link to the Fearless Living Fund in the show notes. And it's Diane's charity that benefits the Blind Center of Nevada, Trish.
When that's all through reselling, that never of that would have happened without Boss having their thing at the blind seller in Nevada. She never even would have known about the blind center in Nevada.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of a full circle about reselling. So it's all kind of reselling related.
Do you have a tip for us this week, Trish?
Yeah, you know what I would like
Trish's
to talk
tips.
about?
Tips from Trish.
Tips from Trish to talk about is pricing.
Okay.
In a pricing structure. I think as resellers, we look at pricing much differently than other retailers do, right? Like the gold standard for a retailer is you buy it at the wholesale price and then you either double it or triple it, and that's your retail price usually. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Loss leaders, if anybody knows what that is, it's something you sell below cost to be able to get people to come into your store.
Rotisserie chicken at Costco.
Exactly, like a $5 rotisserie chicken at Costco. Exactly right. And also they do that a lot on Black Friday. And then supermarkets usually do it during their weekly sales. Whatever's on the front sometimes can be a loss leader. And they'll say you can only buy 5 or you can only buy 10. And they do that because they're not making any money on those. There is a nuance to that, right? The reseller pricing models are much different. And this morning on Mastermind, I do a mastermind class every day. And this morning, Cheryl, the Yaya Rambles, we were talking about pricing structure. And she was saying that resellers can't use that model or even think about that model. It doesn't really matter what you bought something for because she buys very low. She is a old school yard sailor, right? So she's going out and buying something for $1 or 25 cents or 50 cents. So it wouldn't be worth taking that 50 cents and selling it for triple the amount. Wouldn't be worth it on eBay or whatever. So that kind of got us into talking about how do you decide your pricing structure. So for me, I am a value pricing structure. When I look up comps, I see what the high end is and the low end, and I tend to go to the middle or a little lower. I want people to buy. I'm more of a volume seller. And so because of that, I want people to buy things easier and faster. I don't like to sit on them. Some people, aka Teresa Cox, will almost put it at what retail was. If not sometimes higher. She sells things from Walmart that maybe were 13 bucks and she's selling them for 25.
Okay.
That blows my mind. But she has the space, she'll sit on it, and she can wait. So when you're thinking about pricing, you really have to decide, what is your sell through rate? How fast you need to go through these items? Do you have space to sit on them? Are you paying an exorbitant amount of overhead and you need to get your money out? And also be thinking, when you spend this money, how long is it going to take me to get back out? Do you need it? Is that capital that you need? All of these things have to come into your pricing ideas. So just think about it.
There you go. Very interesting. Buy low, sell high.
Buy
Um,
low, sell
But I do know, like you talked about Teresa, and I do know a lot of sellers that hit up like the Walmarts, the Target, or the clearance stuff, because across the country, like stuff I can get on clearance in my Target, you might not have out there in
high.
the moors of Boston.
Absolutely. And some things you guys get, we never get, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like up here, we have like local things that I used to sell before I went to strictly clothing, but like brown bread. That's a very New England thing that I don't think anywhere else in the country really eats it. And it's bread in a can. Have you ever had this?
I don't want to have it.
It's not gross.
I'm not interested.
It's a can and you pull out, I'll show you sometime.
Does
But
it
anyways, it's
explode like a snake out of the can?
no, nope. Just slides right out, and then you cut it up and you fry it in the frying pan with butter. And most people serve it with with hot dogs and baked beans. But that's a New England thing, right? That's a thing people eat up here that probably they don't eat where you are. I can't imagine there's a lot of Californians eating
No,
baked,
Trish.
baked beans and hot dogs.
Exactly. And bread from a can from the Mayflower.
Exactly. That's right. It's old.
I imagine so.
Yeah. The things also to think about. What do you have that nobody else can get?
That's a great tip. And thank you so much, Trish.
Of course. You're welcome.
All right. And now, Trish, over to the news desk. There's List Perfectly news this week, Trish.
There is? I'm so
Yes.
excited. And by the way, you should all be checking your banner messages on LP. On List Perfectly uses banner messages. Look at them. They're important. The news section in List Perfectly, and you can go to the news section in List Perfectly for the latest updates.
In fact, we're not even going to tell you the news. We're going to tell you to go to your banners. Just kidding.
We're not telling you nothing.
And all the details are there. So we are actually going to tell you go there to get the details, the links and everything. But the big news is List Perfectly has extended the Pro Plus promotion for all Pro Plan members all through 2024.
I know.
So
It's awesome.
that is awesome.
It is.
All the instructions are in those banner messages to take advantage of these features, Trish.
Auto delist, listing assistant, printable pick list. That's a big one.
And also, Trish, you finder, that new listing catalog, which I
Yep.
dig, multi-user access, not for me. I'm the only user. Printable QR code labels, more photo room removals,
Right?
bulk editing tools, sales information, enhanced mobile interface. Trish, what's your favorite Pro Plus feature?
Actually, one that you didn't mention, and it's the barcode reader.
That's
It
what I
is
was going to say.
really.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I love it too.
I love it too. It is so fun, and you don't have to have a barcode reader. You can use a barcode from like I'm using this on my computer right now. You can just put it up to that, and it will populate depending on what the product is and how old it is. You'll get everything, including a photo or two.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you could be outsourcing and listing and do that. And
Exactly.
that's a super cool feature I really like.
Yeah, and one of the things I think some of the really successful resellers that I know, they don't waste time and they'll stand in line, right?
Yeah.
And start listing before if you're in a line somewhere, they're listing what's in their cart, even if it's just the getting the basics in so they can go home and take pictures and stuff. It's a great feature. It's great. It really is.
Here's a Doug tip. start your listings in LP on mobile and then finish them on desktop.
Exactly. For years and years, that's how I did everything. Like on eBay, I started on mobile and finished on desktop. I
There you
really love that. I do that now on List Perfectly too, but I really like that flow. It's easier for me. But there are even more features will be released soon, Pro Plus in 2024, and some of these will also be coming to the other plans at no additional cost. Things get trickled down. So if you need more info, if you want some help, join Pro Plus Insights and Customer Support 411 live on Listing Patty, where you can ask questions directly to our team. Pat is usually there. He is great. He'll go right on. He'll tell you what to do. You can screen share with him if you want. He can help you tremendously. Check the Listing Patty events to find a day and a time that fits your schedule.
All right, there you go. All right, Trish, in breaking eBay news,
Yes.
eBay now offers cubic pricing for USPS Ground Advantage and Priority Mail. So, Trish, what's cubic pricing?
Okay, so what's interesting about this is there are going to be a lot of resellers who are like, what the heck is cubic pricing? But then there's going to be a whole lot of resellers, especially old school resellers, who had been using cubic pricing for years because they went to a third party called Pirate Ship specifically.
Oh,
And Pirate Ship has been doing cubic pricing forever. So cubic pricing is based on the size of the package rather than the weight. Okay. That means that it's more important to include accurate measurements and dimensions for your package so that you eBay buys the labels and will generate it at the lowest cost. Now, let me just say this. This morning, my daughter said to me, our shipping costs have gone down recently because of Ground Advantage. So really pay attention to this. This may be a big money saver for you in the long run. So think about it. And some of the things that I automatically sent in a padded flat rate or in a regular flat rate, I can put anything into a legal flat rate envelope, anything, and send it. And that price keeps going up. But some things that I would have automatically done and thrown in there, she sent much cheaper this morning using cubic pricing. Look at it. Don't just automatically go with what you've always done.
Thing you brought that up about the Ground Advantage. So, I did see something this morning that UPS is doing some layoffs, and there's a theory that it might have something to do with USPS's Ground Advantage and how
Well, wouldn't that be an interesting development? Not good for UPS at all, but interesting. Cubic rates, just so everybody knows, cubic rates will automatically display in eBay labels when the cubic price is lower than the non-cubic rate. It's going to warn you when you can save some money.
I use Pirate Ship, so you think that I would know what
You
cubic
didn't know that you were
price.
using cubic shipping?
I put the measures in, I just put in what they tell me to do.
Okay,
Yeah,
you've been doing it for years and didn't even know.
exactly. But key benefits of eBay cubic pricing include the fact that USPS shipments can be covered up to $1,000 by ship cover insurance when you use
Yep,
eBay labels.
which is good.
Uh, you can take advantage of the most comprehensive delivery and pickup network in the United States with the USPS,
Well, I
Trish.
would hope so.
Exactly. What else, Trish?
If you don't have a printer, no problem. USPS accepts eBay labels, QR codes. In reality, if you're a brand new seller, if you're new to all this and you do not have a label printer yet, or even a regular printer, you can just have the QR code on your phone. I would make sure if you're doing more than one package at a time, make sure you write down the zip code on the package. But you can go there, they'll print it out for you, slap it on, and take it away.
All right, cool, cool. And Trish, I love a deal,
I do know this about you.
but I'm also very hesitant. I do believe that if something is too good to be true, I'm suspicious. So obviously, we're all familiar with Temu, and we know a lot of sellers that source from there because you can get stuff ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, I
And
know
the
a
main
lot of people.
reason and the
Yeah.
main reason I haven't gotten anything on there because I'm like, it's got to be fast fashion. It's like Sheen, blah blah blah, which it may be. The other day, I saw something on there. I got a coupon. I was looking at a pair of Oxford men's shoes. Those would look lovely. And then there was literally 100% off coupon, and I was like, "This is too
I
good to
know,
be."
like, what does that mean? 100% off
Yeah.
coupon.
And then I saw, and I think this is gonna be huge for Temu. They came on the US market in 2022, and
Okay.
offering cheap apparel, other goods like $9 sweaters, $5
Yeah.
mugs, and you'd think I'd be in. And the Temu app was the most downloaded free application on Apple devices last year, surpassing even TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. But the interesting thing is now they are going to add at some point, there's not a timeline, but they've announced that they are going to allow US and European sellers to sell on the platform.
Yeah, and that's gonna be interesting because A, can we compete, right? Price-wise, or are they gonna do it by shipping? It's gonna be interesting to see how that washes out.
But yeah, that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And again, is yeah, we do know sellers that source on there.
And I was surprised. I mean, it came up in Mastermind, and there must have been 5 people right there. It was like, "Yeah, I source from there. I source from there. I source," and I was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
So
It's the same thing right now with TikTok shop is they're trying to get people to shop on there. And my kids are like, they buy stuff on there all the time. I know you do too, but they're like, you get 40% off coupons regularly.
here, Doug, I shop there.
Oh, look at that top, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So this is interesting, Trish. There's a rumor that Walmart is going to start purging physical video games soon.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I think this is just natural progression. I think because there's a new Xbox coming out that's going to be all cloud based, and it's not like now you can get games instantaneously by
Yeah,
downloading them. So it's all cloud
yeah.
based stuff. You don't have to have a disc anymore. And more are like, we're not making discs anymore. So I think this is a natural progression. I do think it's a sourcing opportunity for a bit because there's going to be some people that'll still want those discs. Maybe if there's some legacy games out there, some bargain games. Video games are always a decent seller.
It's an interesting thing because it's like cassettes and VHS tapes, and I can't tell you how many things in my
Yeah,
lifetime have gotten huge and then gone away, right?
yeah.
And so this just seems to be a natural progression. I do think you're right.
Best Buy is basically really stopped selling movies.
Yep.
Target's dramatically reduced their movie options. DVDs are pretty much going away. Is you can buy streaming stuff now. You basically download it. All right. Anything else, Trish?
No, I think that is all the news that fits. Thank you everyone for coming. It's always a pleasure, Doug, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Trish. You too.